Hi guys, this is Ray from Next Forex Trade. Today is Friday the 30th of August 2019. It's just gone about 10 minutes past 6 here in the UK, 6 a.m. And obviously I'm here to teach, not preach Forex, and show you guys by example some of the trades and positions, some of the things you could be thinking about in the market with regards to your trading. If you do find the videos useful, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Especially subscribe to notifications. That way you can be alerted as soon as this information goes live. So let's have a look at what the market's saying. So you can see at the moment I've got I've got two positions open. My AUDUSD, which is still continuing and currently in profit, and I did recently open a position on the GBPUSD. Let's cycle through the market, and I'll give a yes or no as to whether I see any setups that are worthy of our capital. If you're unfamiliar with this strategy, basically it's time frame correlation, a strategy based on price action as well. I've got the 5 different time frames up here, which I use to guide my decision. My daily is the first point of reference. Always look at this to see if the price gives some good value for money in order to short or go long. Obviously short in a downtrend, go long in an uptrend. And we've got the 4 hourly, 15 and 5 minute here as well. So the first thing I'm doing is looking for value for money on these higher time frames. And for there to be value for money, what I need to see is the price being ideally in an overbought area. So interacting with, this is a standard deviation channel I've got around it. So ideally interacting with the upper edge or the average of our standard deviation, and for there to be in a downtrend a lower high to give reference. So at the moment, this is the AUDCAD that we're looking at. This isn't great for trading. Positioning isn't great for me. This here is the AUDCHF, slightly better. But what I'd want to see in this instance, so I'm deeming these as kind of this movement here as a high and a lower high. It's we can see some clear area of resistance, and this would be tradable, but what I'd want to see is a reversal candle on our daily. So some interaction off of this type of a level or this level where we've seen a previous resistance, and then to potentially enter on a short as the price moves past the low of that reversal candle. Given it's Friday and this candle hasn't formed as yet, that means that for today there's not really an opportunity. This is something to look into next week. Similar story with AUDJPY, needs to come back up to these levels ideally to potentially short. Very similar chart pattern to the previous one we looked at. This is my AUD that I'm currently in, so I've scaled into this 3% overall in this position. Wow, let's clean these up a bit. It's a bit messy. So this is a trade that I've been in since the 12th of August. So it's been 18 days in total. And I'm still happy with the position here. I may consider moving down my stops. I'm just waiting on the lower time frame price action to allow me to bring down a protective stop. But we can see that we've got this bearishness that we've seen on daily here. There was a clear area for where the stop loss could be placed above these previous highs here. So there was resistance there. And if you look in the previous videos, you'll see the way that I scaled into this. But what's good about this currently is we've got that price action that I wanted to see on our lower time frames. Let's take the hourly. So the hourly and lower and other time frames are starting to show these lower highs, lower lows as well, which just gives me a bit more reference for how to manage the trade. So at the moment, looking at the daily, we can see that the price is kind of hugging the standard deviation channel nicely. In the previous few hours, it did find support off of here, so it's reversing back. If you were thinking of entering this now, it wouldn't be one that I'd want to enter. Because it's a bit late, but I've got some good position on this already, so this is fine. So over the following hours, probably some resistance off of here, maybe the upper edge as well, but I'm happy to hold this to short. The way I would manage this in terms of the take profits is if I see this create a new lower high and then move past the low and then start to pull back, that will give me a reference point as the previous lower high, which means I can bring down these stops as a protective stop to ensure that I don't, I profit overall. So at the moment, the way this is set up, I could still lose the 3% that I have risked in this. But if that market condition were to become true, where it pulls back, goes lower, it would mean I can pull down these stops all the way down to here and just lock in that profit. I'm going for a much bigger move on this based on the higher time frames. It's not just an arbitrary level as well. I'm not just saying I want 2.5% out of the market, 3%, whatever. It is based on using Fibonacci extensions. In fact, it's probably going to be easier rather than talk about it theoretically. If it does start to produce the lows that I'm after, then it will make more sense to talk about how I'm managing that take profit. But effectively, this could, there's no end to kind of how much this could go down in terms of take profit. I do have that take profit level in there tentatively, because certainly if there is a very erratic move in the market, I'm happy to take that profit off the table. But really, it's just a game of patience, waiting for the price action to do what I need it to, or I would like it to do, to come out of this. But yeah, this is okay. I mean, going into the weekend as well, I'm not a big fan of holding positions over the weekend. But I mean, there's enough in this, the fact that also the swaps are paid on the AUDUSD currently, so there's no massive carry charges I need to worry about. So yeah, come back to that on Monday, just update you how that went. So next one, CAD CHF. No, don't know why that's there. Let's get rid of that. No, this is just too overbought at the moment. It's pierced through our previous standard deviation channel. So maybe next week, but not this week. No. 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 Euro Swissy. No. Go back to, I think it was yesterday's video for a discussion on the fade trade on this. So this is going counter trend. But yeah, you wouldn't want to do that now. That's just too late in the move. So this is EURGBP. Yeah, this still, I mean, this still looks good to potentially go long on. We've got still a nice reference point for our stop loss underneath these previous area of support, which is our higher low in this move, outside of our standard deviation channel. What's still lacking for this, for me, is this the 4 hourly. I would have discussed this yesterday. What would make this a more higher probability trade for me is if these previous highs, this previous high here, the price would move past that. Because at the moment, in this pullback, this retrace here, which is this move on the daily, it's still within this. Still within this range. Also, it hasn't really broken price structure, so by breaking price structure, it would need to move past, in the uptrend, we need to see higher highs and higher lows. At the moment, it's just still showing lower highs and lower lows. What is good, it's found some nice support yesterday off of our standard deviation channel. Also, if we put in a horizontal, there's going to be this kind of zonal support as well, which it's found trouble going much lower than. It's kind of zonal, these previous highs here where there was resistance. So yeah, I mean, all in all, it's a good reference point for stops below that level. So below here, and obviously taking profits, some areas where the price, if the in fact, let's have a look on the hourly first of all, just to explain this as well. So on the hourly, what would be good is to see this price. We're seeing the start of higher lows and higher highs here, but to break past that would be a nice entry. If it then pulls back on our hourly or 15-minute to there, average on the standard deviation or the lower edge on standard deviation, and that would mean the profit potential on this would be quite good in that even with a 1-to-1. So let's say we get in, let's just say the average, like the entries around there, so it's 125. So a 1-to-1 take profit is around these levels here. Again, that's just assuming where the entry is, but you know, taking money off the table before these previous highs here, it stacks up as a trade. So there's some decent value for money in that. Whether that happens today, don't know. Could keep an eye on the session. It may bust through in the European going into US sessions, but just bear in mind this is one that you'd have to actually more than likely carry over the weekend, which leaves you susceptible to potential gaps in the market, which is an additional risk. And I'm just checking to see what the swap is on the long on this. Okay, no, there's no worries on the swap. It's so yeah, this would be okay to hold for you know, a longer period of time in my opinion, but it's just waiting for it to give a bit more confirmation. So let's move on. Next one here, EURGBP, no, no, no. And again, I'm just looking at daily on this. No. GBPCAD. Yeah, I mean, this is similar. We've got some nice reference points. This is kind of like the one we just looked at, but in reverse. But this makes sense because we could have a stop above this level here. Well, firstly, just backtracking, we've got some nice lower lows, lower highs. We've got a clear area of resistance where the previous lower high is, where it interacts with some support and some zonal support resistance as well. So stops above that level makes sense. The lower time frames here, so at least on the hourly, kind of on the 15 minutes, has started to produce lower highs, lower lows. The troublesome area is this area of support that I've got drawn in here, which it's having trouble moving much lower than. And we can see in this retrace here, which is also this 4-hourly move here, it's still within the standard deviation channel and hasn't really broken lower than it. So in order to trade this, what would be good is if these areas of support got broken. So you could use the 15, in fact the hourly is probably the best one on this in a moment. So if it breaks past these lows, pulls back, interacts with our average on the standard deviation or the higher edge, that would give a nice entry. But just again, be wary of the if doing it today, it's a Friday, so be wary of the carry charges and susceptibility to gaps over the weekend. But the profit on that, profit targets, this would be our stop above here. It's about 240. Yeah, 1-to-1s makes sense. So it would definitely be below before these lows here, and you know there's a lot of scope beyond that to the downside as well. So taking profits off at 1-to-1 would be before this previous low, which is my preference. Taking some money off the table at least, and scope for a much bigger move as well. So GBPCAD, definitely one to keep an eye on. GBP Swissy, bearish, no, not as great. What's not as good as on this is the lower time frames compared to the previous one we looked at, where our lower time frames have started to kind of roll over and produce lower lows, lower highs. These haven't. These are still quite bullish overall, so that isn't as desirable. Same story. I mean, these are a bit more bearish. Yeah. Similar story, not as the other one was better. This wouldn't be my preference on this, so I'd leave that. No. GBPUSD, okay, yeah, I'm in this one. This is one that I've taken because of how our lower time frames of that bearishness has started to present itself on our lower time frames. It does still have this problem of the 4 hourly, where it's, you know, this retrace here is still very strong, if you like. It has pierced if we look at the 4 hourly, it has pierced through it, but it hasn't significantly moved past the low. So this, looking at the hourly on this area of support is still troublesome, right? Still an issue, because, you know, there's previous highs here. So this could be deemed slightly aggressive if you're kind of new to trading, to short it at this level that it's at now. But I'm happy enough to do this because of the way it's broken price structure and what the momentum of the higher time frames is saying. So just in, you know, I mean, looking at this price action we had previously on the hourly, it stopped making these higher highs, broken a previous higher low, started to move down. We've got reference within our standard deviation channel. I've sold a bit into that support there, but I'm okay with that, and gone for 1% on this. So where's the trade? There we go. So it's this position here. So this is a 1% risk on a 1-to-1 reward to risk. So my stops up here, take profits before these lows. This is again a slightly risky trade because there's a greater likelihood that I need to carry this over the weekend. It's unlikely that I'll hit profit today if it does go that way. So yeah, it's much of the time it's just being aware of, you know, don't take anything as a absolute rule, but just be aware of what can go wrong. And if you frame your trade by what can go wrong and preparing for that, and just being aware of that, then ultimately you're just holding yourself accountable. And you know, you knew what the risks were before taking the trade, and you position yourself as best you can based on the information you have at the time that the market's showing it to you. So this definitely is slightly more risky because of it being a Friday, because of it not breaking support, but I've allocated my capital accordingly to that. I'm only risking 1% on this, so we'll see how this one pans out and update on Monday. NZD-CAD, no. No, I mean, there's nice interaction on, what is this, USD Swissy, nice interaction with our upper standard deviation, obviously some previous resistance that the price has come into, whereas, you know, some previous support here, quite zonal there. But what I'd want to see is this is a reversal candle, and this is still being formed, so I wouldn't want to be short on this just yet as well. Look at our lower time frames. Yeah, time frames are very bullish at the moment, so no, that would be something to look at on Monday. And lastly, we've got the USD JPY. No, needs some reversal candles off of these previous highs here, so again, something maybe for Monday. Yeah, that's it. That's pretty much the overview. So I will see you again on Monday. I'm looking for around 6 o'clock to start the sessions, so 6 a.m. UK time. So tune in, subscribe so you can get the notifications, and do like the video if it's been of use for you as well. Thanks a lot. Bye.